Over the past couple of days, we've heard a lot about the unique sets of challenges faced by someone who comes to participate in CourtLink. We were struck in particular by how unfortunate it is that someone might invest time and effort in participating and then get lost somewhere along the way. The problem, as we see it, is one of looming costs and distant benefits, and we aim to combat this by minimising the appearance of costs of participating and maximising the appearance of benefits. Our nudge involves using behaviourally informed communication in between the meetings to increase retention, and this is primarily through both making the goals seem more achievable and also through increasing peer-to-peer communication.
Sure. So for CourtLink participants, some of whom might have quite a lot of volatility in their living arrangements from week to week, 12 weeks can seem like a long time. And that's why we're recommending that CourtLink implement these behaviourally informed text messages to essentially make this 12-week goal seem like less difficult to get to. And part of the way we're doing that is, well, the mechanism we're using to do that is using the existing messaging infrastructure which CourtLink already has. As we've heard over the past few days, CourtLink has the capacity to generate text messages to send regarding court and meeting reminders. We would utilise this in order to send messages between meetings to nudge individuals to essentially stay in the program. So there's a couple of behavioural pieces of behavioural literature which inform what the content of these messages would be. The first of this is sub-goals. So if you have an overall goal, which is quite uncertain, then having defined and smaller sub-goals makes it easier for you to progress towards the final goal. So we would recommend presenting the program as if it was a set of three sets of 4 weeks, 1 to 4, 4 to 8, and 8 to 12. And framing it as these sub-goals, making it to milestone 1, which is 4 weeks, making it to milestone 2, has the benefit of giving you these small wins that you can get more easily than just focusing on the 12-week, the entirety of the 12 weeks, as well as maintaining motivation through those critical times when people drop out, 1 to 4 weeks and 4 to 8 weeks. The second part of the literature is on what's called pseudo-sets. So pseudo-set theory essentially says that if you have a group of tasks that's presented to you, some of them have already been completed, you have a psychological desire to continue completing the rest of them. And so the way we would frame that is using essentially a progress indicator towards those sub-goals. And the benefit this has is that it shows you, it gives you this psychological benefit to the meetings you've already been to, as well as incentivising you to complete the rest of the meetings to fill up this progress bar.
Crucially, the pseudo-set theory emphasises the importance that the beginning of the progress bar is filled in, because otherwise it can serve as discouragement if it's all empty. So what we propose is in the 4th meeting, which is the end of one particular chunk and the beginning of another, we have an implementation intention plan that they work through. This involves working through the logistics of attending their next meeting, and it's an if-when plan about those logistics. We understand that there is sometimes some discussion in between each meeting about getting to the logistics of the next one, but we think this particular plan is slightly more structured. It is flagged as a particular plan, and its main purpose is to serve as getting that first tick in your progress bar. The other thing that progress bars do is they serve as a visceral reminder of sunk cost, and they allow you to take into account sunk cost when making a decision. Now, we know that a strictly rational agent ought not take into account sunk cost when making a decision, but in this case we think it serves as a really valuable reminder of the hope they had at the beginning of the program. And as you can see there, it works through 2 ways. Firstly, by showing the intentions of a past you, indicating what you should do in the future. And secondly, by making salient the effort and time you've already put in.
Thank you. So while highlighting the progress towards the goals already made and goals in the future is so important to our intervention, it so too is important to consider how CourtLink might connect with people on an individual level. So many of the people who participate in CourtLink have had negative and lengthy experiences with the justice system, and they may feel distrust towards communications given by government bodies. That's why a key aspect of our strategy is to transform the tone that we use when communicating with our participants. Participants will also receive messages from former successful CourtLink graduates who have had similar characteristics to our participants. To make sure that we can match participants that are currently in the program with similar characteristics of participants who completed the program, we will collect these messages from all 4 regions of the CourtLink program: Brisbane, Ipswich, Southport and Cairns. We'll also collect information and messages from both Indigenous and non-Indigenous groups, as these are core to a person's sense of identity. These messages will include personal advice and encouragement to the person, which is structured around the midpoints of each of the sub-goals that we just talked about. For example, in week 2 and week 6, to maximise the chances that people make it to the end of a sub-goal and transition onto the next one. A sample prompt that someone might respond to is, for example, what information would you like to have known, or what advice would you give yourself if you were in this program at week 2? Now, the matching is easily done by a caseworker, as shown in the previous slide, or it can be easily automated as well. Demographic information that we are using to do this matching is already stored and collected in CourtLink databases. So the reason why peer-to-peer level communications is so important is that the literature tells us that a messenger with similar characteristics to the recipient means that the recipient is more likely to act on that information. This effect is particularly potent in the literature for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander persons, and this means our program will have particular effect given that 21% of existing referrals come from Indigenous Australians. So these peer-to-peer communications also solve a second issue, a timing consistency issue. The benefits of the program are very distant, but the costs are very current. However, these peer-to-peer programs are very helpful because these peers that these participants get messages from are individuals who they aspire to be like, and they're similar to the participants in themselves. They can project their future selves on these participants, and they've made a commitment not only to their future selves, but also to a peer that they've aspired to, and also to their community at large.
Our intervention is low cost and uses existing in the case of demographic information, or soon to be available in the case of filters for that demographic information, CourtLink resources. The major new initiative is tweaking the questions asked in the completion survey in order to get more appropriate peer messages, and we think there's subtle shifts in wording there. Our behaviourally informed communication can increase retention, and we think thereby increase involvement in the CourtLink program. Thank you for your time.